So, good morning everyone. I will be your last presenter for the Group 2 about the authentic assessment, which will be tackled in the part 8, 9, and 10. So, first topic for this authentic assessment, the part 8 is the characteristics of 21st century assessment. So, what are the characteristics of 21st century assessment? So, there are 8. These are the responsive, flexible, integrated, informative, multiple methods, communicative, technical, sounds, and systematic. So what do you mean by responsive? Responsive is a visible performance-based work which generates data that informs curriculum and instruction. This means that students can respond in this kind of assessment which informs all the curriculum and the instructions that are provided. Next is flexible. One of the characteristics of the 21st century assessment is being flexible. Assessment needs to be adaptable to students' settings. So, what we need in an assessment is that all students should be able to adapt in this kind of assessment, and also teachers need to make sure that the assessment given to the students are instructional adaptations, or the instructions are being adapted so that it will be flexible to all types of different learners in a classroom setting. Next is integrated. Integrated means assessments that are to be incorporated into the day-to-day practice rather than as an add-ons on the end of the instruction. So integrated means the assessment should not be dili lang nato i-deliver after the end of the instruction, which should happen day-to-day practice. Next is informative. Informative means that the assessment results give information on whether or not the desired and targeted 21st century skills, which are clearly stated and explicitly taught, are realized. Next is multiple methods. Multiple methods is an assessment continuum that includes a spectrum of assessment strategies in a norm. From the word multiple methods, an assessment should include different or multiple assessment strategies so that students will be able to adapt from this assessment. Next is communicative. Communication of assessment data is clear and transparent for all students. This means that this means that the assessment given to the students should be clear and that the data are transparent so that students will be able to easily kanang dali ra nila magets kung unsa ang assessment nga ginahatag. So next is technical sounds. So technical sounds for fairness, adjustments and accommodations are made in the assessment process to meet students' need. So technical sounds should come from the teacher or from the assessment given by the teacher with fairness and adjustment and accommodation, which helps students meet the needs. And lastly is the systematic. Systematic characteristic of a 21st century assessment is a part of a comprehensive and well-aligned assessment system that is balanced and inclusive of all students, constituents, and stakeholders, which are designed to support improvement at all levels. So this includes all types of students, whether with disability or not. Systematic characteristics are needed to support improvement of all year levels of all students regardless the needs of the learners. So next will be the process-oriented system. So what do you mean by process-oriented system? Process-oriented systems are the learning outcomes in the form of procedural knowledge, required demonstration of the process or procedure. They call for a process-oriented assessment. So from the word process, in this part of the assessment is where the students process what has been what has been introduced to them. So here are some examples of an process-oriented system. So reciting a poem with feeling using appropriate voice quality, facial expressions, and hand gesture. Perform skit on the importance of a national language. Relate story events to one's experience. Pagsasagawa ng sistematikong pananaliksik tungkol sa paksang tinatalakay. Using the appropriate reading style. Graphs linear inequalities into variables. Demonstrate the generation of electricity by movement of a magnet through a coil. Sings theme or melodic fragments of given classical period pieces. Sings medieval chants, troubadour songs, madrigal, choral, and selections from oratorio with correct pitch, rhythm, expression, and style. Shows skills in creating linoleum, rubber, wood, cut print with the proper use of carving tools. So these are the different subjects, different process-oriented system chosen from different subjects in different areas. So this can be an example of the process-oriented system which the students need to process what has been introduced to them. They need to skim, read, and analyze what has been introduced to them as the assessment has been given by a teacher. So for the last topic, this will become the after the process, here comes the product. So what is the product-oriented system? So here are examples of product-oriented assessment. Execute the skills involved in the dance, applies correct techniques to minimize risk of injuries, demonstrate proper response before, during, and after disaster and or emergency situation, demonstrated coping skills in managing loss and griefs, defends written research report, use the internet as a tool for credible research and information gathering, empowering technologies. So as you can see from the beginning of these examples, there is the words execute, apply, demonstrate, and etc. So from these words that what has been introduced to them are being processed by the student, and after the processing of the students, here comes the product, which clearly means that what has being learned by the students are being transformed into an action or a product for what is the result of what they have learned. So what product-oriented means that students' performance may lead to concrete products. So these students' product are the concern of product-oriented authentic assessment. So what are the concern of the product-oriented authentic assessment is the students' performance, which has been processed of what they have been instructed or introduced to them at the first place. So that would be all.